Mercedes-Benz S-Class may not be the most luxurious car that you can buy, but a very important one to the automotive world. It is like a rolling demonstration of the latest in the automotive technologies and also an insight into the future of the cars that we drive today. In fact, even a midlife makeover of the S-Class is more than just a cosmetic job. This one in particular brings along a host of new engines and a range of new assistance systems. Let us begin with the latter. Radar-guided cruise control is close to the heart of the S-Class as it debuted with a W222 back in the late 90s. For the new W222 S-Class facelift, cruise control is one of the biggest talking points now as it takes the car another step closer to autonomous driving. Using new generation cameras, radars and data from the GPS, the S-Class can now see 250 meters ahead to scan the traffic, road signs, lane markings and even the road surface. All this data lets it fine-tune not only the suspension but also the adaptive cruise control to help the car autonomously maintain its lane and automatically pull overtakes with the driver merely needing to nudge the indicator stalk. The cruise control can even alter speeds automatically for upcoming curves. The variation of the speed through a curve is also dependent on the driving mode, with the eco and comfort modes dropping speeds considerably to maintain a smooth curve, while the sport mode being relatively more aggressive with its slow in and fast out maneuver. I like how it works in the sport mode where it doesn't shave off speed that easily. However, in the eco and the comfort modes, the drop in speed is quite steep. The new adaptive cruise control is now such a big deal for the S-Class that the controls have now moved from a stalk behind the steering wheel to new switches on the steering wheel itself. The cruise control also gets a sub-function called the Active Speed Limit Assist, which will automatically reduce the set cruising speed to obey speed limits as per the data received from the GPS or even from temporary road signs put in place for roadwork, accidents, traffic jams, etc. In bumper-to-bumper traffic, the car can also crawl on its own as per the speed of the vehicle in front of it at up to speeds of 30 kilometers an hour. Now that's a feature that I would badly want in a place like Mumbai where you're always subject to bumper-to-bumper traffic. Another nifty feature, which may not be of much use in India though, but a good safety feature to have in a car like this, is the emergency braking assist. Now if the car finds out that the driver is not responding for whatever reason, maybe because the autonomously driving car has put the driver to sleep, or worse, the driver has passed out for some reason, in that case, the car will make visual and audible attempts to try and wake up the driver, make the driver respond. But if the driver still doesn't, in that case, it will slowly bring the car to a complete halt in the lane that it is driving in. It will also blink the hazard lights to warn the other road users of a possible hazard and also unlock the doors of this car so that responders can gain access to the cabin. The S-Class also has an active braking assist that can autonomously apply emergency brakes if it detects an impending collision or incoming vehicles, hurdles or pedestrians in the driver's blind spot, like intersections or during overtaking maneuvers. There is a blind spot assist too, which warns the driver of other road users that may not be in their usual field of view. All these assists, however, don't confuse the driver with too many beeps. Should the driver require sudden steering input to evade an impending collision, the S-Class also offers an evasive steering assist, which applies additional steering torque in the direction of the evasive maneuver for quicker direction changes. Cloud computing isn't restricted to your computer and phone data anymore. Even the cars have started using it now. The S-Class in particular gets a new technology called Car2X Communication, which will also filter down to all new-age Mercedes-Benz cars. So these cars will be able to report traffic jams or accidents or roadworks to a cloud server, and then compatible cars will be able to retrieve this data in real time and then optimize their GPS and their safety systems to tackle the situation accordingly. The S-Class also aims to make parking easier. We are already aware of the active parking assist, which can automatically steer the car into a desired parking spot with only acceleration and braking input required by the driver. The S-Class is now able to accelerate and decelerate autonomously too. If the driver decides to drive in or out of a parallel parking, the S-Class can detect oncoming traffic or pedestrians using the radars and cameras and autonomously brake if required to avoid any collision. We have already seen remote parking assist in the BMW 7 Series, which lets you remotely drive the car into a tight parking spot while standing on the outside. The S-Class now rivals it with a simple smartphone app instead of a display key that you need to charge separately. If the parking spot is a bit too tight, the S-Class can also fold its mirrors. Like I mentioned before, the S-Class also debuts a range of new engines. So the S400 petrol, which is the baseline for the S-Class in India, now gets upgraded to the S450, while the S350D maintains its nomenclature, but like the S450, this one too gets a new engine configuration. Mercedes-Benz is also offering a S400D, which uses the same 3-litre unit as the S350D, but with 340 PS and 700 Nm of output. It is touted as the most powerful series production diesel engine Mercedes-Benz has ever produced. The straight-six petrol engines in the S450 and the S500 use an electric booster compressor now that replaces the supercharging and feeds electrically compressed air at lower revs to provide early forced induction and eliminate turbo lag. The engines also use an integrated starter generator or ISG, much like a hybrid car, which replaces the belt-driven alternator and uses a 48-volt electric system and lithium-ion batteries to provide supply for ancillary components like the water pump and the air conditioning compressor. That takes load off the engine, and even under high load conditions like uphill climbs or acceleration, the air conditioning compressor doesn't have to be switched off. Like a hybrid car, the starter generator can also provide up to 250 Nm of boost as and when the engine requires it, while the generator function can recover energy under deceleration and charge the battery pack. The starter generator also helps boost efficiency by taking over the drivetrain as and when the higher power from the petrol motor isn't required. And at highway speeds, it can even decouple the gearbox from the engine and take care of the cruising capability on its own. These technologies should also make the S450 petrol quite an efficient and clean motor to drive in Indian conditions. Sadly, however, Mercedes-Benz did not bring any of these cars to the invitational drive that we have here in Zurich. So the car that I'm driving right now is the S560, which is the top of the line for the petrol lineup, and it gets a V8 4-litre engine. It puts out about 469 PS of power and 700 Nm of torque. The result, this huge long wheelbase limousine that you see can go from standstill to 100 km an hour in 4.7 seconds. The power comes in a linear manner though, and won't shove you back into the seat like an AMG would. Mercedes-Benz also offers this car with a 4-matic drivetrain and a 9-speed gearbox that is the torque converter type, with more bias towards the rear wheels. But despite all those power and torque and 0 to 100 figures, the S560 is not purely about a sporty intent. It also has a more fuel-efficient drive, a more nature-friendly or eco-friendly drive, and there are a host of new technologies that support it. The V8 bi-turbo under the hood gets cylinder deactivation technology to help that cause. It also makes the engine quite silent. Even when the engine is firing all cylinders of the V8 though, it doesn't sound as emotional as it should. But then again, this is a luxury limo. While the other non-AMG S-Class models come with the self-explanatory Eco, Comfort, Sport and individual modes to choose from, the S560 you see here also gets a curve mode, which, like the S-AMG Coupe, lets the car lean into corners for better agility. This car is unlikely to come to India though, since it is not the drivetrain but the back seat that attracts most Indian customers to this car. The back seat of the S-Class, this is where you want to spend most of your time, whether it's your chauffeur driving the car or the computers doing their own thing. If you have the chauffeur package, you can let the seat move forward by up to 77 millimeters, and if you spec the car to have 2 individual seats at the back like I have here right now, you get seats that rival the comfort of a first-class seat in a jet. And that is what it looks like. The fit and finish of the components, the overall cushioning, the contouring of the seats, these little pillows up here, everything is just top-notch. It is what defines this class. Like I said, this is the place you want to be in if you have the S-Class. Now, you've often heard us use the phrase the lap of luxury. Well, this is what it is. This is exactly what it looks like. The rear seats can also be specced with a wireless charging pad, native entertainment devices, and a simpler 3-seater layout, though I wouldn't recommend the latter. For those wanting more opulence, Mercedes-Benz also offers the Maybach edition in the S560 seen here, or in the flagship S650 guys with a massive V12 that puts out mind-numbing figures of 630 PS and 1000 Newton meters. Because the S560 that we are driving has a bit more sporty intent as compared to outright luxury, you get these nice and sporty carbon fiber inlays. You also get a darker treatment for most of the cabin elements. However, for the cars that are headed to India, which could be the S450 or the new S350D or even maybe the S500 petrol for the launch edition, I believe that the cabin will have brighter upholstery and the open pore wood finish to go with its premium intent. The S-Class now replaces the classy 2-spoke steering wheel with a more conventional 3-spoke design. The dashboard still houses the stunning digital displays for the infotainment and the instrumentation, but the two are now combined into one seamless design. The command software for the infotainment has been updated too, and now gets Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and up to 64 colors and multicolor combinations for the ambient lighting. It also gets an enhanced voice command system. Now, the voice commands can do more than just control the infotainment. The lady still has a bit of a problem understanding the Indian accent, and I hope she gets there very soon. But now she also lets you control a few vehicular functions like the air conditioning or the fragrancing or even the seat ventilation and heating and even the massage functions. In fact, Mercedes-Benz has sort of woven all these things together into what they like to call the energizing comfort control, where they have created different packages like the well-being or the vitality or refresh, and as the name would suggest, they'll fine-tune the air conditioning, the seat ventilation, and even the ambient lighting to sort of set the mood. And then they'll go with the mood and give you a different kind of a massage as well. That sums up the cabin. On the outside, the changes are quite minimal. The headlights are the most distinctive now with their new design. Multi-beam LED headlamps on the new S-Class can brighten up to 650 meters of the road ahead, while the dynamic movement makes sure that they aren't a hindrance to other road users. Quite frankly, I don't like the mascara-like LED DRLs as they make the otherwise butch-looking limo a tad bit feminine. But it now gives the S-Class a clear distinction since the E-Class and the C-Class get 2 or 1 row of LEDs respectively. The bumper and the grille has been redesigned too, and new materials are used between the grille slats to reduce interference with the radars. At the back, the taillights now get a welcome animation and also have new graphics and the stardust pattern that we saw on the new E-Class. That sums up the obvious and the most notable changes of this midlife makeover of the S-Class. Well, the Indian government is finally warming up to the idea of radar-guided assistance systems. But at the same time, they don't like the idea of autonomously driven vehicles thanks to the complexity of the Indian driving conditions. So how many of these technologies and assistance systems actually filter down to India? That remains to be seen. But what is not hidden is the fact that the S-Class now pushes the envelope further in terms of automobile technology. And in doing that, it also promises that the cars of the future will be safer than ever.